Bear with us.
There we are.
Go. Now it's saying we're live.
I fixed it.
You fix it.
It's
a mess right now because I've got it set up for 3 people. But we are live. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi, guys.
All right. So it will not. I can't change it. So let's go ahead and bring our guest on right away.
Ta-da!
Hi. It's like comes full circle.
Hey, that's the name of my gym back in the day. So there we go. All right, Lindsay, take it away because I'm still doing stuff on the back end.
Hi, guys. Welcome to the latest episode of Boy Meets Squirrel. This is our friend and guest, Sarah Eaton. If y'all don't know who she is, what the
hell not?
Why? My husband knows who you are. He comes to me with his phone and he's like, "Hey, so you know how you're trolling for content so that I have him fishing for me?" And I go, "Yes." He goes, "Do you know who this person is?" I'm like, Yes, I do know who that person is. We're friends."
Yeah.
Really? Do you know everyone? Yes, dear. It's a small community. We know everyone.
It actually really is. It is definitely small for sure.
I think I'm good to go, so I can actually talk now. How are you, Sarah?
I'm good. How are you guys? Just living the dream.
Living the dream. Yeah, I was a bit crazy there for a few minutes, but I think we're live everywhere. It looks good. I'm sure they'll all be popping on in the comments shortly. So, they're saying hi to you over on YouTube. Steve says, "Hi, Sarah. Love your vids and your shorts."
Sarah's the queen of shorts.
What's that?
Sarah's the queen of shorts.
Well, I kind of think about it like myself. My attention span is not that great. So I'm like, if I don't listen not very long, then maybe other people are the same way.
Oh, I listen to most of your shorts.
So
I listen to most of your videos too. So
I got to keep them short.
Short and sweet. So we thought we'd have Sarah on today because people have requested you, Sarah. You're popular. And
it's like really crazy.
We're going to keep it open, loosey-goosey, no particular topic, although I do have some questions for the ladies because I think it would be fun to talk about, since we have 2 of you on now, to talk about the fun and excitement that you get from the other ladies for daring to speak your mind. Remember, we're a family-friendly show, so we're not going to swear, right, Sarah?
No promises. No promises.
I remember the podcast we did. Well, something like that. I had so much fun with that one. And Lindsay's just as bad. So, I'm the sweet and innocent one. And that's saying something.
Listen, they say that people that cuss are supposedly higher intelligence.
They do.
So, I mean,
if you can use a certain word as a verb, an adverb,
adjective.
Well, that's like the number one comment that I get on YouTube. It's like, I'd listen to you more if you just didn't cuss. I'm like, just replace it with a word that you find more friendly then. I don't know.
Do you think, this is a question I have for you, Sarah, because someone asked me this 2 days ago when they interviewed me for their podcast, which is, do you think swearing inhibits your reach on YouTube? And that was a fascinating question. I didn't know the answer. I'm leaning towards maybe.
I don't know that it does, but I do have a lot of people in the comments tell me that their comments are very limited. So I don't know what they're talking about, but I haven't seen anything in terms of profanity on there.
Yeah, I mean, I know when I upload videos that, it asks are you swearing in it? And I either say yes or no, depending on my video. But I never block any comments, good, bad, or indifferent, anywhere, but especially on YouTube. And I hear the same thing from my followers, that their comments get taken down, but I don't know what they're saying. I've asked a couple of them, and a couple of them probably should have been taken down for what they were saying.
Some of them are a little leaning very misogynistic. I'm like, if you really think that way, you might want to work on that. I'm like,
a you problem.
Yeah, I'm like, they take it too far, and I'm like, okay, that's enough.
The only comments I ever filter are the ones that use the C word. That's
that's
the only word I will that I will.
That's a hard no for me too. That is one word I like. Although the Brits use it like it's nothing,
Yeah.
I remember when I was talking to Maddie a while ago, he was throwing it out a few times, and I'm like, "Oh, dude, in the States you can't say that," but totally different over there.
Yeah.
So, But yeah, I mean, I was asked about it, and it's got me thinking. And a couple of my videos where I do swear in them, they did not have the reach that the other ones do. So there might be something to it. Although I say in there if I'm swearing, because it asks, when you upload on YouTube, it'll ask you, are you swearing in certain parts? I'm honest about it. Why lie?
I mean, I know I get more violations on TikTok like that. It's very close to me saying like I can't do it anymore because any emoji. One of my videos said that I was too vulgar, and I even didn't have any cuss words in that like at all. And instead of sex, I said sleeps with you, and that was still like not appropriate. So I'm just like I have to talk like I'm 5 or something. I don't really know, but
I've just started using historical words from like 100 years ago, and TikTok hasn't really. Well, I haven't uploaded anything on TikTok in forever because I keep getting violated. I'll post a comment and it's a perfectly innocuous, like, okay, that's literally all I said was the letters O and K, and it'll get taken down for comment violation. I'm just like, I'm on a ban list.
They're all in TikTok putting in euphemisms for the C word, like I can't understand normal thinking.
Yeah.
Minus see you next Tuesday. But yeah, I mean, that's one word I don't like. Like they're saying in there, Brits use it just like I did. So guys, while you're on, if you have questions for Sarah, she's right in front of you. Here's your chance. And she's awesome. She doesn't live. You don't live that far from me. We're not going to give away locations.
Yeah, please.
But at some point, you and I have got to meet up somewhere in between and collab.
The next time I visit, can we do that?
Yeah, well, I didn't even know you guys were visiting together. I was like, oh, okay, I see how it is.
Yeah, but we could meet. I'm not going to give anything away by saying we could probably meet near Fayetteville.
Yeah.
That's kind of central in the state, so we should do that sometime. So guys, if you have questions for Sarah, jump in and ask them. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that crap. All right, Lindsay, what do you got?
I'm looking at questions too. I haven't really got anything. I've been on a sabbatical from YouTube for a while for personal reasons. My personal life has gone to absolute hell.
I just got a question. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at Steve. Steve wants to know, when are you getting married, Sarah? Someone has to
ask. Very soon.
Are you really?
Yes.
Congratulations. Sure. I need to talk to him beforehand. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, you probably should, but he's on a business trip at the moment.
He would be now. See, you're one of the good ones. Better than Lindsay. There's the face I was looking for. No, I'm kidding. So he would be very lucky to have you. Laughing at that comment.
Daryl, we're doing open. Daryl on TikTok, we're doing kind of open forum today.
Ask Sarah whatever you want. Day.
I did think of you guys though, because have you seen that TikTok floating around about the teacher that was messing around with the student, and basically she's already out of jail. Like they.
She only got like
a slap on the wrist and literally like just administrative leave, but she got paid leave. Like, how do you do stuff with a 15-year-old and you don't even nothing? I'm like, if that's not the whole premise of what we talk about, I don't know what else is. And
it's sad because as someone who had it happen at 13, not a teacher but a friend of my mother's, he's going to live with it the rest of his life. Anybody who thinks it affects boys or men any different than it does women is a fool. And I did not see that particular video. I've seen plenty of others because I get them sent to me all the time. But it kind of dovetails with something that happened here locally where I am, where a woman unalived her boyfriend. It was an active DV, and she just plea bargained for 5 years.
That's so crazy.
And was charged with second-degree murder. So they dropped it down to probably manslaughter or something equivalent. Yet I remember when that story broke, they were talking about it was him that went after her at first. So there was this whole thing for like 2 days of she's a victim, blah, blah, blah. He's a horrible man, horrible man. Then they found out she shot him in the back.
Oh, wow.
He was leaving the house or apartment, whatever it was across the street, and she shot him in the back. 5 years for that. I
That's
mean,
crazy.
it is crazy, and it speaks to how little value.
But the patriarchy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really.
As soon as
Really.
somebody, uses the patriarchy, I know I'm like out of this conversation because there is no, talking about it. I'm like, yeah, that's enough.
I'm always like, you keep using that word. It does not mean what you think it means.
Yeah.
It does not mean what the value that feminists have given it, or at least the modern definition, does not match any dictionary definition. Or like, well, look it up. I'm like, I'm not looking it up online. It's this magical book called a dictionary. If you look it up, and I always go back to what Jordan Peterson said, because the patriarchy, even at its height, and this is the example I always use, that women aren't that easy to oppress. Have you ever tried to tell a woman what to do? It doesn't go well usually, and
Especially
like lots
these
of them.
two.
Hey, but the argument I always use is people they're like, well, in the 1900s when the patriarchy was like, you mean when the Titanic sank in 1912 and the rich first-class men had to give up their seats on the boat for the poor third-class women and children? That patriarchy? Oh, yeah. And I'm like, dude, the word doesn't mean what you think it means.
Well, it's just like with everything else, it's always like cherry picked, it's always like we're going to use these words when it benefits us, but if it doesn't benefit us, then it doesn't exist. And it's just like you're either for equality or you're not. And I don't understand like the logic. I'll never understand it. Like, just treat each other how you want to be treated. Like, I don't understand. Like, yeah, and it's like go back to kindergarten, like learn some manners or something. I don't know, but. And then it's like, they always say, oh, we're working now. We're women that work. Okay, then you can pay for your own stuff. Like, what is the argument? Like, why should a man that is, working the same amount as you pay for everything? He's not your father. Like, they always say that men, want mothers, but we never talk about the women that, want father figures, not husbands,
Well, and ironically, they talk about I work now, we're working now. Women, if you look back historically, this idea of the housewife that sits home and does nothing is a relatively new phenomenon that really only existed at the end of the Second World War to about 1965. Historically speaking, for the last 3,000 years, women have been working alongside their husbands anyway. So this idea that we're working now, now since when? Since the dawn of freaking time? Yeah, you are. Get over it.
Yep. And like I said on my podcast with Dan, is like both my mother-in-law and my mom have worked, and taken care of the home and worked with no complaints, though. With no complaints. They do it with grace. They're happy to do it because it's part of their role as a mother and a wife. So when I hear women complain about those things, I'm like, then just don't be in a family dynamic, because you just don't want to take care of other people. Is what it is. You want to just be selfish.
They want the benefit of being in a family, but they don't want the responsibilities of being in a family.
Exactly.
And it's like, if you want that, they're like, well, I want the companionship. Get a dog.
Right.
Get a cat, a goldfish.
Yeah.
Not a husband and children.
It's dogs. So, by the way, a couple quick questions real quick. Joe Ice asked, are we really live? Yes, we are. It is 4:16 p.m. on the East Coast. We are live. Steve wants to know about your necklace, Sarah. Is there any significance to
it? Just my initials with my husband, pretty much.
Aww.
Just A and S.
Oh, that's
yeah.
So sweet.
Yeah. Actually, I was influenced. I'm disappointed. Okay. I saw an influencer with this on and was like, oh, I like that. I want that. And I was like, I fell for this. Like, what the heck?
Was there one of the ones on TikTok?
Yeah, actually.
You should sell it in your store then. Because then you get a cut of it. What was the other? Was it? See, the questions jump ahead. You guys keep talking though if you want. Oh, they're saying you're both righteous in their eyes. John said they're both righteous and speak truth about men. So, getting back to the topic we were talking about with, originally with the giving women a free pass on a lot of the crimes. Like a couple of people were mentioning over on YouTube. Like Steve said, why does it always seem to be the female teachers essaying the students these days? And Country made a great comment, and that's because the percentage of male teachers is much lower. I mean, teaching right now, depending on where you are, is 80 to 90% female. So yeah, it would be more women likely to do it, which is sad.
And I remember that when we did have an even split of male teachers, or when teaching was predominantly male anyway, the male teachers who took advantage of the female students was rare. And because it was so rare, when it came out, it was treated like the serious crime it is. Nowadays, female teachers are taking advantage of the male students almost at such a high rate that it's like the Amber Alerts on your phone. You just get numb to it. It happens so often that it becomes.
The squirrels are around. Molly's not happy. Molly.
It becomes something that, oh, well, it's just another example, and people kind of shrug it off, and they have watered down the severity of it because it happens so often. I think that it happens so often, it should be a wake-up call going, hey, there's obviously a problem because it keeps happening. But instead it's like, oh, it's just another. I was like, that's how bad things happen. When good people stop reacting to atrocity, that's how we end up with, gas chambers and train rides. And it's not going to get that far. I know a couple countries that said that too.
Yep, and a couple that are getting real close lately.
Well, I think with the, to your point, like with the male teachers, I think they're on just such high alert. They're watching their every move, because even in my daughter's school a few years ago, one of the male teachers like brushed up against one of the girls, but like walking by her desk, like nothing intentional. And it was a whole big thing because she went home and said that it was something, and he was under investigation, and it was this huge thing. So I just think overall, like the male teachers are, so hyper aware that nothing can always turn into something. And I think that's why we also don't hear anything really about male teachers anymore. And that's sad. Imagine going to work and having to be in like a hyper vigilant state every single day, just doing your job.
That's why they're not teaching anymore. So
Right.
I've talked to many guys that were male teachers, including some that I worked with when I worked in K-12. They're all out. And it's that specific reason why they even get threatened by the girls. If you don't give me an A or a B on the test or for the class, I'm going to tell everyone you did something to me.
Well,
And
they're
automatically believed, so the guys have no choice, and they're just leaving the profession because of it.
The very first video of mine that ever went viral, when I talked about the 3 instances of teen girls being predators, that was one of my examples. There was a girl in my English class in high school who flirted with our teacher. And I mean, we're talking like she would make a grown-ass whole Marine blush with some of the things that came out of this girl's mouth. And he reported it every single day. The first time it happened, he said, "Excuse me." And he went to another teacher's classroom to call the office. And the office refused to do anything, like, "Oh, she'll grow out of it. Well, it's fine. Just ignore it." So that's what he did. Come to the end of the school year, and she failed because she plagiarized her paper. And guess what she accused him of? I mean, it got to the point where in class, this man was so uncomfortable. He tried to move her out of his class. He tried to get her transferred to another class, but because it was the only AP college prep class, her parents refused to remove her. They insisted that he was just, being mean to her because she was so smart. She really wasn't that smart. And it got to the point where he would have an administrator stand in the back of his classroom every time he had our class with the door wide open, because he was terrified. And this was 20 years ago now. And I can only imagine it's gotten worse. And the fact that she was even believed at all when the investigation started at the end of the year. And we all testified to his defense going, "No, we all watched her do this all year." "Well, she's 15. She doesn't know what she's doing." Bullshit. Yeah. She knew exactly what she was doing. And turns out she'd done it before. And the movie that always comes to mind is The Crush. Like, if we're going to hold teenage boys accountable when they commit heinous crimes, assault, unaliving, sexual assault, any of that, and hold them to a higher standard, meaning try them as adults, then we cannot not hold girls to the same standard. And that's what baffles me, is because unintentionally, when you tell a teenage girl, the teenage boy, the 15-year-old, is old enough to be tried as adult, but the young girl isn't. And then on the flip side, if it's a female teacher, which we were just talking about, that the teen girl is being taken advantage of by the teacher, but the teen boy was a full participant and wanted it, what you were unintentionally saying is that boys are smarter than girls. You were unintentionally saying that teen boys have a higher cognitive processing ability than teen girls, and they are obviously more mature, which is the opposite of the cultural argument, isn't it? That girls are more mature than boys. Because if girls were really more mature than boys, then we should be holding the 15-year-old girls accountable, just like we hold the 15-year-old boys. And I always use that argument, and they're like, that's not what we're saying. Oh, but it is. That's not what you're trying to say, but that's what you're saying.
Real quick, Christian, thank you for the roses. Yabba, as in Yabba Dabba Doo, maybe. Heart me, thank you. Bader for the rose, thank you. Yeah, I mean, along those lines, that's, again, I worked in K-12 for a couple of years. I had to get out not because of that directly, but all the guys, we used to talk, and it's like, because one of the things is, because I'm a fairly big guy, they wanted me in the halls when classes were changing, because they know where there's fights, right? Or there may be fights. And they wanted me in one particular area where all the fights go, because there were no cameras in that area, which I ultimately rectified. But I am always sitting there going, well, if I go break up a fight between two girls, things may get touched accidentally. It's just, if you're grabbing a girl around the waist to pull her off somebody, things may get touched. Then I'm in prison. And I refused to do it. And it was one of the reasons that I left. And I'm not a teacher. Squirrels. He wants to get that squirrel so bad, Lindsay. Molly. See, I have to be
but another point that I don't hear people talk about a lot is like these girls, especially nowadays, like they look so much older. It's almost like these guys are going to have to start checking ID, because they're going to say that they're 20, and they're really 16, 17. And it's like, what is preventing an older man from making that mistake? I mean, because these girls literally, like, I see it.
I can't tell how old some of them are. The amount of makeup they wear, and it's almost like they're wearing a mask. And I can't, all the normal indicators of age that we would normally be able to see if you're not wearing makeup are all covered with makeup, and they can make themselves look. I mean, if someone can make themselves look like Jack Sparrow with eyeshadow and a palette, that's it. And these girls are basically performing, witchcraft. I don't blame the guys if they make a mistake. I actually witnessed this in person, where a mother and daughter were in Victoria's Secret, and not in the pink side, the adult side.
Wait. The pink side?
She knows what I mean. She knows what I mean. She knows what I mean.
Like
that sounds really
I think
bad.
No, it's like, I think it's like younger girls. It's not so old looking, I feel like, because like
the pink,
the Victoria's Secret
pink
side is older.
In 25 years, just so you both know. I've never heard there was a pink.
There's Victoria's Secret pink, which is for teenagers and whatnot, and then there's just normal Victoria's Secret.
TMI. Go on.
This mother and daughter were looking at lingerie, which is meant to be seen, by the way. And a guy said, I think you would look better in that color. And the mother turned around and goes, she's 13. And I'm like, and he was properly horrified. He's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And he tried to back off. I'm sitting there looking at, your buy one, get 4 for whatever. And I'm like, wait a minute. She's 13. What are you over here buying her a negligee?
What are you even doing in that store?
What are you doing in this store? It's not his fault. And I couldn't tell that she was 13 either. I'm horrible at being able to judge age because of so much makeup. And I don't normally get involved with other people's disputes, but I got involved with that one because this man looked horrified, and he was about to, like, mall security was about to get called. He was about to get his ass arrested for, stalking or whatever. And I'm like, look, lady, you brought your 13-year-old daughter into a lingerie store to buy her things that are meant to be seen or on the floor, and you're mad at him?
Yeah.
Like, that makes no sense.
It makes you wonder, were they trying to trap the poor guy?
I mean, that's like, I had a coworker, I'm not kidding you. She would like provoke these men, they would hit on her. And then when they finally were like hitting on her and engaged and everything, she would turn and be turn around and be like, ew, this is disgusting. Why are guys always hitting on me? Why are guys always doing this? Why are guys doing that? It's like, you're provoking it. I never felt bad for it. I was like, then don't give them any ammo. Like, I mean, and
It's
that's
it's
it's
almost like
crazy.
it's almost like a game. They
Mhm.
want the
Yeah.
validation of being desired, and they go searching for it, but they also want the ability to say no. They get a power trip from provoking the guys and then
Mhm.
saying, ew, no. And I'm like, that there used to be a word for that. I'm not going to say it on TikTok, but there used to be a word for that. And
Not
if that
surprised we've lasted as long as we have already.
but if that's where you get your validation, then you're the pick me, not me.
Mhm. Yeah. Yep. And her entire Instagram was, Instagram model vibes. But when guys would give her attention, it was like, oh my God, ew, look at these creeps. It's like, then what are you doing? Like, you're asking for it.
Hmm. All right, so I'm trying to get back to it. Hang on. So Jay, not to change the subject, but I'm going to. Joe I wants to know, what is your guys, meaning all three of us, viewpoint on men voting in the election in the aftermath of the power dynamics? And I'd be curious. Lindsay and I have talked about it. What do you think, Sarah? Do you think the men would, because they did win the election for at all levels, by the way, not just
Mhm.
presidential, Congress, local, it had an effect. And where we
Mhm.
are in North Carolina, and I'm sure in Texas, it had an effect. What's your
Mhm.
thoughts on that, Sarah?
I think, when it comes to politics, you have to remember that a lot of women that are married, typically if they start out Democrat, but they marry a Republican, they essentially marry what their husbands are. So in a nutshell, I just feel like men are still making the decisions even when there's women by their side. I
Ooh,
think unless you're really, really like left leaning, I don't. Those are the only people, or right, very right. You're not going to sway those type of people. But if you're somebody that is kind of leaning either way, and you have a husband or spouse that's important to you, you're going to typically vote the same way they do. And that's been like historically proven that the wife will typically side with whatever the husband votes.
do you think that? So I'll use my wife as an example,
Hmm.
who was center left,
Hmm.
and I would say still is, whereas I'm more center right. I'm a
Hmm.
libertarian more than anything
Hmm.
else, but she makes me look like a far left winger right now. She has changed completely, and
Hmm.
her mindset on it is she's just tired of all the woke BS. That's really what it is for
Yeah,
her.
I think a lot of people are. I think what it is like, I think a lot of people share views on both sides. And I
Mhm.
think that's part of the problem is like we always say like you're left or you're right, but like there's stuff on one side that I agree with and other stuff that I don't, or and
Exactly.
vice versa.
Yeah.
So,
I,
I used to be very independent. But as I got older that changed, but I can understand people that flip sides just because you get older. Maybe you make more money. Maybe things are different to you than they were when you were younger. Like, I don't even know that it necessarily has to do with who's running or who's the candidate. It's just about like whatever your morals or your values are.
And there's a lot to be said about that because there's that old thing, and I'll paraphrase it, but basically you're a Democrat till you're about 30, 35, and then you become a Republican once you start paying taxes,
Hmm.
and that's all well and good, but it's interesting to see the dynamic that's playing out, because I do think I don't disagree with you in the sense that I do think women are voting more because of their husbands, but I think they're realizing, they're seeing what's happening to their husbands and they don't like it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Lindsay's a perfect example. They don't,
Hmm.
they see how politicians are bashing men, and they have sons also, and they don't like it. And when you look at the vote, presidential wise, men decided the election, but there were
Hmm.
a lot of women that voted for Trump, a lot of them.
Yep.
And I'm
among
more interested in state and local level as far as men's issues, because federal
Hmm.
government really doesn't do much.
Right. They don't care.
It
Hmm.
really is telling there also. Women had a pretty serious effect on those elections, voting basically with the men.
I think they're starting to vote with the men because want to Sarah's point, and I think it's a combination of both. Someone saying down in the comments, my husband doesn't control your vote. Good for you, sweetheart. Good for you, Clementine.
Yeah.
But if you see a particular party, see, my husband does control my vote in a certain sense. If I see one party demonizing him, I'm going to vote for the other party.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
Because if you care about someone, you don't continue to vote for the party that hurts them. And if that's you down there in the comments, Clementine, get off our show. Keep scrolling. Not play. Well, no, actually stay and listen. Maybe you'll learn something.
I have absolutely zero control over my wife's vote, nor would I want any, right? If anything, she probably tries to influence me because, she is so pissed off at it all. And she is the most non-political person there is.
I think people are tired of
watch political programs, and I watch them all the time. I did a radio show on politics up until December, right? So I was heavily involved in it. But she just got sick of it. And I know she watches my videos. I know she watches Lindsay's. I don't know if she watches yours, Sarah. And I think it's kind of coming into play. And I think that's getting extrapolated out to other women that basically, in a nutshell, they're rejecting the feminist mantra that all men are bad. Right?
I think a lot of people are just getting tired of being dictated to. Like I have a friend of mine who is a lifelong dyed-in-the-wool Dixiecrat, will probably still always die saying that they're a Democrat, except they voted Republican this time around, just because they were tired of being dictated to. That even the things they agree with are being shoved down their throat to the point where it's nauseating. And one of those things that is being shoved down our throat at every turn is that women are angels and perfect, and we can do no wrong. Men are horrible, and at the same time, in the same breath, women are equal to men. What? Okay, men are shit. Women are angels, but women are equal to men, so therefore women are shit too. Like this must be girl math, because these two sides of the equation.
Well, I think too. I get a lot of messages like on the side from women that do agree with me and they understand the message, but I think that they're just too scared to speak up because you get so much hate. You have to really have tough skin to speak out on things that you believe in, whether it's whatever issue that you're on. And I think that's part of it, because I'll have chats with them and I've had women come to me and like, hey, can you go to my husband's baby mom's page and like call her out for this, and this, because we're too scared on our side. And I'm like, I get all the details before I'm just gonna go at somebody, obviously. But behind closed doors, I think a lot of women are starting to wake up, which is good, but like we need them to start speaking up. And I am seeing it more and more, but it's like not at the volume that we need it to be, but at least it's a start.
From a trickle
that's
to
something I wanted to ask you, Sarah, because I know you catch hell. You and I have talked many times about it. And I'm starting to see a swing also. I'm getting in the last 2 weeks, I don't know what the hell's going on. I've had at least 24 women reach out to me. I don't know why. And they're asking me like, to narrow it down to one thing. They're asking me, how do I fix this? Right? How do I fix either my relationship or how do we fix this dynamic and all that? I don't know what's changed in the last 2 to 3 weeks, but it's like mind blowing to me. Are you kind of alluded that you're seeing a little bit more from the women who are supportive of you? I know you catch hell, and I know Lindsay does too, far more than I do, by the way. What kind of go a little bit more in deep on that? Like, what are you seeing, and how is it changing?
I just think that women that want to be treated well are getting the backlash from men at this point, from the women who have created the toxic cycle. So you have women that want to be treated well, and now the guys are like, F this, I'm out, I'm not dating, I'm not doing crap. And now these, the better women are basically getting the grunt of the frustration. And now it's like, now they don't know what to do, because they're paying for somebody else's mistakes, basically, in a way. But
that's exactly what they're doing, right? Men are walking away and women are panicking. That's my take on it also.
Yeah, I think they're definitely panicking because they've always had the control, in the sense of like, I can get whatever guy I want, I can do whatever I want, I don't need him. But now they're like, you don't need us so much that we're not even going to respond. So They think that they're making the decisions because men are not doing anything when really they just created this for themselves.
It's, it's got to be scary for the younger women. I'm talking low 20s to mid 20s. Because I think, and Lindsay and I have talked about this before, I think they're the ones that are going to change this around. The 18 to 25, they are rejecting feminism. Not all of them, but a large portion of them are on panic mode. I mean, you've seen my videos. I make tons of videos pointing out things women say and go, ladies, you realize she's speaking for all of you. And that's what's triggering, I think, some of the content that I've been doing lately is triggering women to say, yeah, I don't want her speaking for me. And the point I make to them is the same one you just said, which is, well, you have to speak up. I can talk till I'm blue in the face. Ain't gonna matter. But the ladies have to come together, and it's on you guys to fix this. Men can't. Men are just going to go, F you, walk away. And I hate to tell you, ladies, but once men walk away, they don't come back.
I mean, I get the same thing. The messages of how can we fix this? I was like, stand up. And what's my absolute favorite saying? Evil prevails when good men do nothing, and you are complicit in your silence. And by not speaking up, and you don't even have to speak up for men, but you need to at least call the bad woman out. So when the woman is standing up, being an absolute, bitchery, and you allow her to continue that bitchery without stopping her, without reputing her, you are complicit in what she's saying. So you have to be willing to call her out. And until you're willing to call her out, that's not going to change. So when women ask me what they can do, I always say you have to refute the bitchery. You also have to be willing to admit that you might be the problem. You might have to self-reflect and realize that women are the problem and look inward in order to fix us, because when we don't fix what's in here, all we're spreading is more poison. And some of them are receptive to that, but a lot of the ones that are like at my age, who have kind of drunk the Kool-Aid for so long that they just reject that. They're like, I can't do that. I can't speak up against the sisterhood. And it's like, okay, but you want change, but you don't want to be the change you want to see. You want change, but you want other people to change. You're not willing to do any of the work yourself. And that's not how that works. It's like with weight loss. You want to look thin, but if your sister is running on the treadmill, you're not going to get any thinner.
Do you think fear is what's preventing it, though? Because you two know better than anyone how savage other women are towards you guys, right? And do you think that's blocking a lot of other women from speaking up? Because they see what happens to you guys.
I mean, I think that's one point to it, but I think the other point is you have to have a lot of, self-awareness and accountability to even recognize, like, that you're part of the problem. And that is the problem, is that if you don't ever see yourself as a problem, then it's not ever going to it's not ever going to get fixed. And a perfect example to this is I have a best friend who's a male therapist, and she has told me plenty of stories where the women set up, for them to go to therapy with her husband, and she quits the moment that, my friend is giving her advice that she doesn't want. So it's like, they only want to hear what is going to keep them comfortable in their situations. Not all women, obviously, but the majority don't believe that it's just on the men to change. I think that a lot of relationships only last as long as they do most of the time because the men are consistently changing and evolving, and I got you, I got this, don't worry. And then, everyone has their breaking points.
Yeah, and what's happening is, and I'm seeing it more and more from guys, my followers, they're saying, I've reached my breaking point and I'm done. And they're either getting out of the relationship or they're not willing to get into another one, right? It is mind-boggling me. I've been on TikTok since the pandemic, so 5 years now. 5 years ago, I would put a video up and I'd get a few guys that would say, yeah, I'm done. Now, every video I put up, there's hundreds of them saying it. And it's not even the same, because I did check that. I'm like, well, it's the same guy saying it over and over again. That's one thing. It's not. It's literally all different men saying it over and over again. And, I got to believe we're at a tipping point right now where women better figure this out fast, because as I said a little while ago, men are one and done, right? If they decide they're going to walk away, they're going to walk away and they ain't coming back ever.
Well, I'll ask you guys this question. So, with that being said, do you think that obviously, if two people in a relationship are not trying, right? You have both men and women at this point kind of saying they're done, they're done, they're done. If they ever do decide to be in a relationship, do you guys think that is why we have this continuous cycle? Because at this point, we have a bunch of people that are avoiding it altogether rather than getting in relationships and actually trying to work through it like adults. I mean, is avoiding it altogether really the best solution?
It's not the best solution, but it is a real, not a realistic one.
It's the
It is a
easier
it is
solution.
it is the
yeah.
route of least resist. It is the route
Mhm.
of least resistance, and it is a very human one. It
Mhm.
is very human to sit there and say, "I'm done," and walk away, cut your losses and go. But anything worth fighting for is usually never easy. It's like when people get married, the people who give marriage advice. And they haven't had I ask all the time, why are you taking marriage advice from someone who is divorced 3 times and you can't keep a significant partner for any amount of time? And they're like, well, what's your secret to marriage? Is like, well, I've been married for now 16 years this year. I've been with him over half my life, and we've gone through the stages. Because they'll ask me, why should I listen? Why should we listen to? They listen to me, and us because it's difficult. And they're like, well, your marriage is easy. I'm like, no, it's not. I'm stubborn. He's
Oh, you have
stubborn.
the perfect marriage. Stop
Shut up.
it. You are so pathetic. It's ridiculous. Walking around hand in hand. I about wanted to vomit the whole time.
Mr. Squirrel and I are in love with each other, but it is sometimes difficult. But it's because we're in love with each other that we keep trying, because I would rather try than lose him. And a lot of people out there are either settling, so they're not with someone they would burn the world for. They're not with someone that's worth trying for. And what does that really say? You promised your life to them. You made all these vows, you made all these promises, but whether they're religious or not, you made these promises. And they were your one and only, but you don't love them enough to try to keep them. That's a you problem. And in many cases, I see the men who make the promises, that make the vows, they actually mean them, and they're willing to try. In fact, men are willing to try far longer and more uphill than women are. Women give up at the slightest provocation these days, and then they keep repeating that same problem as women go through men. They're like, well, I can't keep one, it's all his fault. It was like, no, Taylor Swift, I'm starting to think the problem might be you, because the relationship's all in the same way, and it can't, that like the common denominator here is you. And then I'll ask them, well, what's going on? And they'll give me 6 or 7 relationships. They're all dating basically carbon copies of the other guy.
The same guy every time.
Same guy over and over again. I was like, what is the definition? And then they all give up at the same point. I'm like, okay, what is the definition of insanity? It's trying the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. You're insane. And you might want to get that fixed. Go look in a mirror. Get a health self book. Buy a cat.
And Taylor Swift's the perfect example of that.
Exactly.
Not to pick on her, but she picks the same chads every time. She's on, I don't know how many relationships. Somebody actually put a meme up where they had all the different relationships. I swear to God, there were 20 guys on there since I think it was 2010 or something like that.
I don't know how
and
people
they're all the
still
same guy, like Lindsay just said. They're all chads, every one of them. Elsie's basically a chad. He's 6'5". He's loaded. He's a good-looking guy. He's in shape.
I just don't know how men
or not, who knows, but
still date her. I mean, she just exploits their entire dating experience. And I always wonder, like, do they have to sign an NDA, or, because you never hear their side of the story. You hear Taylor Swift's side all the time. And it's like, I would just love, somebody needs to write a book about every single person that's dated her. And let's get the full story here, because she can't, we know she's not innocent, I'm sure she has them
why guys
signed.
don't say anything? I'll tell you why the guys don't say anything, Sarah. Because it's easier to just say F it and walk away, right? Because if they do go back at her, she does, to her credit, she's got tens of millions of fans. And you're going to get blasted. You're going to get put on blast either way, right? But if you say anything, it's just going to magnify out. And guys are like, let me think about it. Nah, it ain't worth it, right? So they just say, screw her. and move on. And you know, I don't agree with that. I would never date her, not in a million years.
Yeah.
No. But you know, if I were in a relationship with her and we broke up and she did what she does, which is write a song about it, I'd be writing a song of my own. You know, but that's me, and I don't care. Maybe that's what makes me different. I don't know, but you know, but to take that to the, let's call it normal average girl, they're going online and putting guys on blast, and you know, you never hear the guy's side of it ever. And I've talked with a couple of guys that say, yeah, I saw her thing and I put a comment on it. They delete the comments from the guys. They don't want his side of the story getting out. And these guys are terrified of putting a video up countering it. One guy did. That one guy down in Florida. You know, his wife was saying all this stuff and he posted up, you know, she's got a criminal record. She's guilty of fraud. She's been convicted, all this stuff. Proved that she's the bad one and they went after him, not her. So that's why guys don't say anything, because it's just not worth. What are you going to gain from it? You know, it doesn't get you anywhere with the men.
And I think that's one of the problems that that Sarah and I deal with most is the mob mentality of women, because you know how I'm sure, Sarah, you've experienced this, where the women are always saying in the comments, well, teach your boys not to R, or we need to hold the good men need to hold the bad ones accountable. They let them get away with it. They don't. Men do not let their friends, if their friends are assholes, they dump them. They're not their friends anymore. That's why, well, everyone has every group, a friend male group has one of these. No, they don't, because they keep the bad guy out. You know who does that? Women. Girls do it. Girls do that, and women and women have a really bad habit of projecting how we behave socially and think that men do the same thing. They don't. So women protect other women, and then we think that men protect other men, but they don't. And because I unfortunately have known more women who act that way, not because they're in friend group, but because I work with them, you know, in a retail environment where it's all women. And I could tell you horror stories about every single one of them. And then they're going around the campfire bitching about their significant other. And they get to me and I'm like, I have nothing to say. The sex is good and he buys me things. Leave me alone. And they're like, that. They're like, that's it. And I'm like, I'm
my
not
daughter. I don't need to hear this stuff.
I am not going to sit here and bash my husband for validation and brownie points. They're like, well, and then as a result of me not doing that, guess who got excommunicated from the club?
Oh, of course.
Because now I wasn't one of them. I don't participate in team building experiences. Like, okay, since when is bashing your significant other a team building experience? I actually got written up for that once. Now they bullshitted the reason, but we had a meeting and everyone went around talking about, you know, dissing their ex-boyfriends and their current boyfriends. I don't have an ex-boyfriend. I only have my husband, and I wasn't participating. Well, the next week I was standing over in the corner. I got written up for failure to participate in group, you know, mandatory corporate group activity. I'm like, but I was there. I was at the meeting. Well, we were all talking and you weren't participating. You were bitching about your husbands.
Yeah, exactly.
This had nothing to do with the job. And I quit soon after. I was like, no, I'm not doing this. And that's what women do. And then they project that onto men and go, well, men do it too. No, they don't.
Yep.
They don't.
And that's Squirrel Girl for you. So we're about halfway through the show. Country already put it out there, but I'm going to say it to everybody. If you're enjoying the show, give us the like, the thumbs up, all that crap. Make sure you go and follow Sarah, who is Sarah Eaton, right, on all channels. Yeah, so make sure you go follow her if you aren't. And if you're not subscribed to our channels, what the get done there. I got to do that. So I want heart bombs everywhere. There they all go. Sage Mellow, thank you for the roses. Christian for the roses. Prince for the heart. Myth for the heart. Team Bracelet. Blah blah blah. Blanket. Thank you. There's so many of them coming in. Guys, if you have questions for Sarah, Sarah is only good till about what, 5:15, right? You have to go because you have a lovely child to get. So if you have questions, now's the time to ask them. Here's your chance to ask the blonde bomber. I'm going to call her. We were going to call this show Two Blondes and a Baldy.
I mean, yeah, that would be good.
Yep. But they want us to invite you back. We will, trust me, because I'm having a blast with this. If you guys have questions for Sarah, ask
And
them.
just so you guys know, I don't know who can see this, but I do not have a Facebook or an Instagram. Like
Yes,
just
so I
YouTube and
messaged you
TikTok.
on that.
Yes, yes. And I
So,
found like
by the
four
way,
other
I also
other
messaged Lady J because somebody did it to her also, and I'm almost positive it's not her. So if you're following Sarah on Facebook, you're not following
It's
Sarah.
not me.
You're actually following. You know what, Sarah? I didn't get a chance to tell you this, but I saw it earlier because they popped up again. It's an advertising marketing agency,
Oh wow.
and
Wow.
they're making money off of you. So you need to deal with that. Yeah, guys, if you see copycat accounts, I've got almost a dozen of them on TikTok to the point I'm probably going to take legal action against TikTok because they will not take them down. I reported every one of them with
Mhm.
2 different
Well, it's
accounts.
annoying because they'll ban me for like reposting my video, but then people with these fake accounts that are using my name, my photo, all of my videos, just because for whatever reason they can stay on there, and that's what's so frustrating. It's like these accounts are actually fake, and you won't ban them, but you're gonna ban my real account. Like,
Well, that's why TikTok's mistake was that I have a trademarked logo and name. So if they don't take them down, they are in violation of trademark and copyright law, and I intend to enforce it. Okay, here we go. Here's a question for you, Sarah. So, Lindsay, be quiet. No. I do this just to get the reactions from her. What does Sarah think of online dating? I feel it gives women the advantage, Prince said. So what do you think of online dating?
Um, so I met my husband on Tinder, so I think
Oh,
I'm a little biased. I think that you actually have like so the way that my husband used to explain it to me is like men have like a very small window that they feel like they can get in with a woman, and I just feel like that's not the case. Like to actually get to know these people, I don't think it's doomed. I really don't. And like I said, maybe I'm biased, but it's actually just finding people that are dating with intention. Now, are people always upfront and honest with that, like about that? No. But you are gonna have to take the risk because my husband and I, like, we showed up from the beginning, like, this is my intention, this is what we're doing, this is how we're going to do it, and this is the timeline. But I think people are so caught up in like, what's your favorite color and what's your, what kind of car do you drive, rather than like, how do you see this relationship going, how do you see it working, what are your goals, what are your expectations, what are your political views, what is your religion views, or whatever, religious views. And that's the problem. They're not having the real conversations to even know if your morals or values align to dictate whether or not someone's good. It's like, oh, this girl or this guy looks good, so we're going to sleep together and see how it goes. And then they're mad, 3 weeks later when it doesn't work out. So you actually have to try and ask the right questions.
I have a question for you. Well, let me just ask this question quick, Lindsay. Did you contact him or he contact you?
What are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you, Sarah.
There is a very funny story, and I'm gonna out myself so bad right now. But basically, it got to the point where he was like, "Well, I'm done trying to ask you out." Because I was like, no, I'm busy. I'm busy. And truthfully, I was very busy and I was very hesitant to like get into the dating scene. But then, like, right at the end, I was like, fine, I'll just go on a date with you. And we've been together ever since.
He annoyed
But
you into a date.
yes, pretty much. But it had nothing to do with like playing games or anything. It was just like I was scared. I was like, I don't know, and
See, it's
we've had
funny
those
because
conversations.
my wife and I met on Match.com in
Hmm.
2011, right? And she messaged me. She denies it to this day
Hmm.
because my rule was I ain't messaging anybody. You're coming to me. And that's
Hmm.
what I try and tell guys is, first of all, understand this is the thing people don't understand about these dating apps. Most of the people you're conversing with are bots. They're not real
Hmm.
people, especially guys, right? They'll keep bombing guys with women that are interested
Hmm.
to keep the guys on. They're bots. But yeah, for guys, it's a nightmare because you never know what's real or, like Sarah's saying, whether they're genuine as people, if they are
Mhm.
people. And
Well,
you
I
know,
just think like with women, if we're interested, we're gonna talk. Like if they don't talk right away, like I think there should be like a day or two where it's like, okay, she's not showing any interest, move on. Like you have to expect that the first person that you meet is not just going to be the one. You're going to have to try, like, practice over and over. And this doesn't mean sleep with them, people. Do not misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, it's not going to happen on the first try. So that's what's happening is people want to be able to go on a date and have like this magical experience and
yep,
the sparks and the feelings and the everything that they see on TV. And when they don't, then it's like, oh no, this is boring. It's like you don't even know that person long enough to determine whether or not they're interesting. Like you have to give it time. And it's okay if 3 months from now you realize we're not compatible, this isn't working. Okay, move on. But like,
yeah,
I think people give up way too soon, also.
I think that a lot of dating shows and social media has tricked everyone into thinking that it's so easy, and I say this as someone who got it right on the first try. I am aware that my husband and I are the very very
no
rare
freaks.
Mhm.
exception. Yes, I
Mhm.
met my husband in marching band, um,
One time at band camp.
but I'm also not naive or stupid enough to think that we're the rule. I am well aware of what it really is like out there. And I think that it's to Sarah's point, we have confused courtship with dating. Dating is casual, just for fun. And then
Mhm.
there's
Mhm.
Good
courtship
point.
where you're
Mhm.
courting someone for a relationship. I was taught how to court.
Yep.
So when I started dating Mr. Squirrely, we call it dating, but we as teenagers, we had all the important conversations. We're sitting
Mhm.
there. I'm 16, he's 19, and we're talking about, political views, religious views. How do
Mhm.
we want to discipline our children and whatnot? And if we could do that, then I see no problem why 30-year-old people can't do it now.
Mhm.
And I think that I see a lot of people who are getting into divorces or getting into relationship problem like, well, did you have all these, they're talking about problems that, with moral problems, and they're like, well, it's never been a problem for, never been a problem, or you never talked about it? Because if you're
Mhm.
6 years into a relationship and you haven't talked about any of the actual important stuff, that's a you problem. And I think that people are getting into relationships thinking that if you can love someone enough, that's enough. And I think I blame Disney for this. They sold us the idea that loving someone is all you need. No, it's not,
Mhm.
because it's
Mhm.
oil and water. You can love, a bird can love a fish, but that's not going, you can't build a life with them. So you actually have to be with someone that you can love or grow to love, and that is compatible with your lifestyle, because you're trying to fit a square peg into
Mhm.
a round hole,
Well,
and no matter how you force it, it's not going to go in.
Well, I mean, that's the other point is like, I think a lot of people always look for compatibility, and you really need to look for adaptability because people are not always going to be the exact same person. And that's what happens is, you think maybe you are compatible when you first meet and it's been 5 years, but on that 10th year, you're looking at each other, maybe we're not as compatible. And you're wondering, like, why is this person not for me? And instead of adapting to the changes, it's like, nope, I'll just go find somebody that's compatible with me. And that's why we're seeing this cycle where it's like, yeah, I'm out. And it's really just people not being able to adapt to change because people are going to change, your lifestyles are going to change, jobs are going to change, all the things. And I think that's a big factor in all of it.
Well,
I
because I hear all
couldn't
the
agree more
time.
with you.
I hear all the time. They're not the. He's not the same as when I married him. Bitch, neither
Right.
are you.
Of course.
You're not the
Exactly.
same woman he married
Exactly.
either.
No one is.
No one is.
Exactly.
No one
Like,
is.
and then it's funny because women will talk about growth and we need men that are so emotionally intelligent and show growth and he's learning and he's being better, but like when he is better and he is doing better, like they don't adapt. So
Well, see,
it's
I've heard women say that they want emotionally intelligent men, and then they meet one who holds them responsible and has
hmm
boundaries, and they don't like it. So what
yep.
they actually mean is they want a man who is just emotionally intelligent enough to parrot back what validate them and repeat back to them. They want to hear their words out of his mouth.
Yep.
Um, And that's a big lie that I hear women say, oh, I'm emotionally intelligent. No, you're not. You can't self-regulate worth shit. If someone says no, you fall to absolute pieces. You can't handle rejection. You can't handle constructive criticism. We're not talking about flames or just, a verbal abuse. But if someone gives you actual constructive criticism to help you grow, you fall to absolute pieces. Go, oh my God, I'm perfect. How dare you tell me that that something is wrong with me? And I'm like, well, then you're not very emotionally intelligent now, are you? I had a video about that, actually.
All right, we just crossed the 5 o'clock hour. Heart bomb time again. Next question for Sarah. I'm going to try and get these in quick. All right, because she got to go in about 10, 15 minutes. From our boy, Country Boy, born, who's a regular viewer, wants to know, how did you get into advocating for men, Sarah?
So it's not something that I talk about a lot, but for you guys that don't know, like I had a brother that unalived himself due to parent alienation. So that's one reason. And the second reason is obviously what I see behind closed doors or have seen with my husband and my stepdad with like their divorce and those kind of things.
And you can go watch the podcast Sarah did with me. We went into that a little bit more in detail. Back a ways. All right, next one from Sorry, Soare. I hope I'm saying that. Sorry, maybe. Of course, TikTok just freaking forwarded it on me, bastards. Hold on, let me get it back.
I'm looking too.
I hate the way TikTok does that. All right, here it is. Does Sarah think women might exaggerate with their independence? Because that's all I hear about. So do you think like women's claiming they're strong and independent is an exaggeration or?
Yes, absolutely. Because if it's not a man, it's their parents or some kind of government assistance.
Not only that, but they have just confused being an adult. I pay my own bills. Good for you. That's called being an adult.
Yeah, that's true.
I wash my own car. Though the car wash washes your own car.
Yeah.
That strong and independent women has become synonymous with I pay my own bills. Congratulations, you have achieved the goal of an 18-year-old college student. Congratulations, you're 40. Next. But in many cases, they'll sit there and claim that they're strong and independent, but they're on the government dole or they're getting, all these, promotions and whatnot. Or mom and dad come and bail them out for everything. I see that a lot as I'm an elder millennial, but they're like, oh I couldn't pay my bill this week, so my parents bailed me out. And I was like, when I couldn't pay my electricity bill when I was living on my own, I ate a bag of rice and like 3 cans of soup, and that was my meal for a week. I had to add the rice to the soup to make it last longer.
Yeah.
Because I had to make the decision, do I pay my bills or do I, buy food or put gas in my car to go to work? And I paid all my bills first and then I didn't get my nails or my hair done professionally until I was well into, after my first child was born, because I had bills to pay. And yes, guys, I did actually at one point work, and Mr. Squirrel and I were poorer than church mice when we got married. I was not always a stay at home. And the women that I see that say they're strong and independent, but then get bailed out, inevitably have, their hairs done, extensions, eyelashes, all this stuff. And I'm like, you could pay your bills if you stopped getting your nails done.
And the other part that they never talk about is how, you're independent because your husband paid for your nursing degree and then you left him. So without his help in the front of it, you wouldn't be where you are now. So you were never strong and independent. You were helped along the way. And now, you're getting the benefits of someone helping you. I mean,
so my husband's military, as you know, and I cannot tell you how many military, because I live in military. I live in Military City. We have like 8 bases between all branches of the I just gave away where I live. It's a big city. Y'all can't find me. And it's Texas. We don't dial 9.
North Carolina too, Lindsay. So you didn't.
It's Texas. We don't dial 911. But there's like 8 bases here. It's Military City, and I cannot tell you how many military wives I've met who use their husband's GI bills to get sent to college, and then as soon as they are done with their degree, they leave him. And they're like, I'm a strong, independent woman. And I'm like, Yeah, but he supported you all throughout school, bent
Yeah.
over backwards while globetrotting. So not only did he sign, pay for the farm and sign on the dotted line and serve his country and is off globetrotting and put you through school, and then you have the audacity to sit there and badmouth him for never
Yeah.
supporting you
Yeah.
with your nursing degree or your teaching degree or whatever, and you paint him to be the bad guy. Shame on you. And no, you're not strong and independent.
Well, I mean, they start making like their own money or like side hustles or whatever. Maybe they make more than him just on that first year or something, and now they're like, "Oh, I don't need to be married anymore because I'm making substantial money." But guess what? That money isn't always coming in depending on what you're doing. So you leave a good man and now you have nothing, and you have, you're back home at your mom's house because you can't afford anything. So
with
it's
a
just
340 credit rating too. Is that just
yeah.
Sarah? Just so you know, there's a whole bunch of people saying sorry for your loss for your brother. I just
Oh,
wanted to mention
thank
that
you.
there's a lot
Thank
of
you.
them saying it. So,
Thank you.
yeah, we only got about 5 more minutes ish with Sarah, and I want to give her a couple minutes towards the end of that to promote herself. So if you have any quick questions, put them in the comments. I do have a question for you, Sarah. So, I mean, knowing where we are now, where do you think we're going to be in 10, 15 years with relationships or just in general between men and women? Where do you think we're going to end up?
I mean, I hope with our generation of parenting that we are able to make a turnaround, because even like with my daughter and my two stepkids, like we teach them like equality, when my daughter's making fun of boys for crying or being emotional, like I'm like, no, it doesn't matter if he's a boy, like he's still a person. So it's like correcting it now as it's happening. But I would hope that it makes a change, but again, it would take a lot of people to make it happen. I mean, we're slowly seeing it, but I think it would be in the next not even 10 to 15 years, probably like 20 to 30 years before you'd see like substantial change.
See, great minds think alike because I will not, I don't believe I'll see it in my lifetime. I'm 61,
Mhm.
62.
I
I
mean,
just,
I think it's starting to happen, but
Starting.
it's just slow,
yeah,
so slow, so slow,
it
you
took us
know.
50 years to get to this point. It's
Mhm.
going to take 50 and a couple of generations, like you were talking about generation. It's going to take 2 or 3 generations to reverse it, but I do think it's happening.
Mhm.
It's scary where we're at right now because the politicians are starting to freak out, by the way,
Yeah.
because Japan is in deep doo-doo.
Mhm.
Korea, the birth rates have plummeted in both. They do not have enough population growth to sustain either country, and the US is not far behind.
Mhm.
If God forbid men keep walking away, they do, there isn't going to be a US. It's going to be,
Mhm.
the average ridiculously high. Well, if there's no younger people to produce goods, who's going to feed the older people or take care of them? And that's what's the sad part about it all is. All right, Sarah, you only got about a couple minutes. So I want to give you
Mhm.
enough time to promote yourself, tell everybody how they can follow you, whatever you want to say, go.
I'm just Sarah Eaton on TikTok 3. That's my backup, which is kind of more my main one now, because my main one, it's like just been terrible since they banned me. But my main account is Sarah Eaton on TikTok. On YouTube, it's Sarah Eaton on Shorts. Again, I don't have Facebook or Instagram, so if you see videos of mine, they're stolen, or I have seen people repost. I don't care if they repost, but I don't have anything else. I might in the future, but for now, it's just TikTok and YouTube.
Go follow her,
Yeah.
guys. She's
Yeah,
great.
go follow her and report those ones on Facebook because I've actually been doing it for you, Sarah.
Thank you. Because I tried after you sent me that, I tried, and
Yeah.
you have to have an account. And then they made it so difficult without an account that I was like, forget it. It's like,
I mean, and it's funny because after I found yours, so they have, there's one of that's just you quotes, right?
mhm,
And there's one they have you linked with Pearl.
mhm.
So it's Sarah
I've
Eaton and
I'm
seen
like,
that
Pearl.
one.
And then Lady J, who I
mhm,
would love to get on as a guest with us also, there's 2 going for her. And so I started going down the rabbit hole a little bit. And these are like spammers.
yeah.
And so They're
Like,
they're
please don't
making
link
money
me with
off your
Pearl.
stuff.
That's like the #1 comment I get. Like, is
Yeah, and I hate
Pearl
it.
your sister? I'm like, dude, the things she says, just one Google search, you can tell that she's full of crap. Like, have some intelligence. Like,
I get
ugh,
they
so
get
annoying.
like, oh look, it's Pearl 2.0, and I'm like,
Yeah, 2.0.
you
That's
no,
like,
you believe what Pearl does. And I'm like, no, I
no.
don't.
I
I
mean,
don't
she's
agree with
coming up on her own ripe age and she's not married with kids. So, I mean, I don't know how people take her stuff so seriously because
she
she
has
doesn't even.
shit. She has shit
She
I'm
advice,
doesn't
very
even take
apparently.
big.
her stuff seriously. She says it to make money. We've talked about this
Yes,
Well, yeah,
more.
yes,
yeah,
yes.
but she's still the face of the female men's rights stuff, and that pisses me off because she's horrible.
horrible. Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
Steve just said, and her opinions change as often as the weather, and
They do. She's
Yep,
flip
they do.
flopped
Yep.
lots.
She will go wherever she needs to get a bunch of likes, follows, and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
that it's sad because she pushes out YouTube more, so to speak, right?
Mhm.
People don't gravitate to YouTube because they think she's speaking out when you are doing far more, both of you, than she ever will. And you're genuine, both of you, right? That's the thing. Like, guys, if you're not following Sarah, go follow her because I love the passion that you and your snarkiness. I love your snarkiness sometimes.
Okay, bye.
Because but it's genuine, right? You
Mm,
really believe in what you're talking about,
mhm,
as opposed to Pearl, who's in it to make money, and you're not.
mhm.
I know that, you know.
Well, I
So
mean, so many people like email me like, "Oh, you should, do men's coaching and do business." And I just feel like I'm so cautious of people's financial situations. And for me, it's not about the money. I mean, it might be right now because I just lost my job, but um up until this point, like if I made $1 or $10, it doesn't affect me with getting the message out there, whereas people just start an OnlyFans or get whatever monetary gain. Like, and I just don't see the point in that because then I'm just like everybody else, whether I have an OnlyFans or not. And that's just not who the person, like, that's not who I want to be.
please do not start an OnlyFans. Please don't.
Well, that's another topic for another day. The amount
That
of women that are acting like male advocates just to start an OnlyFans.
yeah.
I mean, I have followers that
I
send
can
me.
think of a few.
I mean, I've had followers send me like at least a dozen a day. Like, oh, you need to just make one big collage of how many women are starting to do this. So,
Including one very, very big one in our space. So
yeah,
we'll just leave it at
yeah.
that. All right, Sarah, it's 1/4 unless you want to hang
All
with us.
right,
You're more than welcome
I'm
to.
gonna
I know
go,
you
but
have to
thank you
go.
guys for having me. Hopefully, we can do this again.
Everybody give
Thank
Sarah a heart,
you.
love bomb, all that stuff. Do it. Thank you, Sarah.
Bye, guys.
All right, so she'll drop off, and then I got to fix things on TikTok. So you talk, Lindsay.
Blah 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 blah
The
blah.
screen's
Doofen's
gonna be
First
all
Evil
screwed up now.
Incorporated. So that was Sarah, guys. If you're not following her, she's Sarah Eaton on both TikTok and YouTube. As you heard, she does not have an Instagram. She does not have a Facebook. I know she doesn't have a Facebook, or at least I know personally because I saw her linked with Pearl, and I was like, there is no. Although that seems to be the biggest one, the one that keeps popping up on my damn feed.
Yeah, that one is up pretty regularly. Guys on TikTok, yes, it's me messing with the screen.
And like I said, Mr. Squirrely, who fishes for me, comes up to me, shoves his phone in my face, and goes, "Do you know who this person is?" I go, "That's Sarah." And he goes, "Well, I like her stuff." I was like, "I like her stuff too. We talk fairly regularly."
Sarah's awesome. She really is.
And but the number of people that are using I actually had someone send. I have my first copycat account pop up on Facebook the other day.
Oh, really?
Really, my first one, because apparently I don't have a lot of followers.
Angels just said you hate Pearl almost as much as Chloe Roma does.
I actually don't like either of them.
I don't like Chloe either.
I don't know.
that
Who we were
she
just
lost
talking
me
about.
when she was charging people to watch her sleep.
She lost me with that. She also lost me when she there was a guy, Man versus Bear, who this was a man who chose the bear, but he had been systematically abused by his, I think, stepfather when he was a child, and he was telling his legitimate story. So rather than show him compassion, she blasted him all over TikTok as a horrible person. I was like, wait a minute. You're supposed to be a men's advocate, and here you are taking this man's trauma and basically saying, so sad, too bad, grow up, man up, balls up or whatever. And you just contradicted your entire platform in one video. And I called her out for it. And that was the first time I ever got an unaliving threat from her followers.
Yeah, she tends to mass report.
She mass reports, and she weaponizes her following against people.
I mean, a lot of what she says I like a lot. But like I said, when she started charging guys to watch her sleep, I lost all respect for her. I have no problem with people making money. Don't get me wrong, right? If you want to make content and make money off it, more power to you. But come on, And unfortunately, though, she, like Pearl, like Tate, become the face of what we talk about. And then it creates issues for people like Lindsay and I, because I want to get into the big news we had this week. We're out advocating, we're speaking with politicians, and they're like, well, Tate said this, because I've had politicians, what about that Andrew Tate guy? And it creates issues for us. So, we had a big, is Curtis still on? I know we promised him we'd talk about it. It was a while ago. Huge win this week, which is in Iowa, in the Senate. Shared parenting passed. So huge win there. And all credit to Curtis primarily, but he's got a team behind him who have been diligently working on this. And I know, because Lindsay and I have talked to him many times, we talk pretty much every day at this point, that he's been working on the House side, I call it Assembly also, because they're all interchangeable. It could very likely happen this year where you'll see shared parenting. It's not a perfect bill. We're not trying to say it is, but it's a good bill. Will happen.
And it's something. Once we get it over, and this is what I have to explain to people. They're like, well, it's not perfect. So yes, but you know how it is so much easier to amend a current law than it is to pass a new one. So get the imperfect one over the line, and then you can go back, and one, you can gather data from it, and then two, you can also amend it afterwards. And which is why I really think we should.
And I honestly don't think this is a bad bill.
It's not a bad bill. It's not perfect, but it's not bad.
But it's pretty darn good. And anybody who thinks it isn't is one of those ones that wants it all in one shot. It's never going to happen. And Curtis
in any arena,
work into this, a ton of work. I've talked to him. Lindsay talks to him. We've all talked together, and this is another domino that can fall. And if we get it in Iowa, there's a couple other states it's on the dockets to talk about. I don't want to say where they are yet, but I've been talking with some of the guys in them, and they're making progress too. You may see 2, maybe 3 states get shared parenting this year. You may see 1, you may see 0. You don't know. But the conversations are happening, which is something, as someone who's lobbied for 30 years, primarily in New York and North Carolina, this is not something I've seen before. We've had conversations. Every once in a while, a state will bubble up and get somewhere. This is monumental shift. We were talking about political shifts earlier. A lot of this is directly due to the way men voted in the election. Both political parties. And so we had an effect. And that's why, guys, the next step is the rest of you need to start doing some work. Call your representatives, demand action, be polite, but go to them and say, I want to meet with you about shared parenting. I want to talk to you. I want to share my story of how I can't see my kids or haven't been able to, or how she filed a false allegation. Go talk to them. Be polite, but that's how you bring about change. Lindsay went quiet on me.
I'm sorry.
She's too busy petting her dog.
Sansa demanded attention. Pet me, pet me, pet me. But yes, the number of people that I have seen that want a perfect bill, or they want to go all in one swoop and like no baby steps. And this is a win for us, and I will be bragging about it on our Reforging Families now has its own Facebook page.
Yeah, let's
by
talk
the
a
way.
little bit about that because I wanted to bring that up too. So, Jenny of all trades just jumped on. Hey, Jenny, you missed Sarah. Sarah was our guest.
Yes, you
And
missed
thank
Sarah.
you to Sarah for doing that. And yes, we will have her on again down the road. But let's talk about, we made some progress on Reforging Families. So we now have a Facebook account.
We now have a Facebook account. I am running it. I posted the agenda, which is I had to fight with Meta for 2 days. It's up, and we can start leaving comments, guys, and questions. So it's Reforging Families. You'll know that it's there because it's the symbol is an anvil. I worked hard on that, by the way. I drew that by hand.
You have more talent than I do.
And comments, likes, please come follow us. I will be trying to keep on top of that. I have plugged a posting schedule in for all 3 of the sites that I'm monitoring now.
Yeah, we got to work on Boy Meets Squirrel a little bit because we've both been slacking on that.
I have down.
Understandably, though, we've both been very
busy
working on stuff. So, it's tough enough keeping content up on our own channels, but to do it for 2 other ones, it's tough, guys.
And not to brag, but not only did I paint my entire office in one day, I also ripped out all of the carpet. So I have been busy.
Angel just asked a question that I don't know the answer to. Are there any men's issues that you 2 disagree on? I
don't think so. It is scary, and I would claim witchcraft for some of the things that we'll have not only similar ideas for, but then we'll both think of the same thing at the same time.
Sometimes it really is.
It's like, I'm doing a video on this. I just did that, or I'm literally working on that script right now, and I will always usually reply, witchcraft.
I can't think of a single thing we disagree on, or in any way, or even in minor disagreements on.
Now there are things we have different points of view about. I have the female perspective, or the newer that's different.
Normal. That's normal though.
But I can't think of anything.
I can't either. So great question. You got me thinking when I saw it pop up, and I'm like, I can't think of anyone. Night Train said, does that apply to Canada as well? Night Train, I'm not sure what you're asking about. If you're talking about shared parenting, it's only the state of Iowa.
It's only the state of
Iowa. So
in
the states, every state. That's why all these people that think Trump's going to put shared parenting in or change child support, federal government has nothing to do with that, guys. It's state level.
It's a state issue.
It's all bullshit started by the feminists, okay, to stir things up. Who would
Dan.
Jenny just asked?
Dan.
Huh?
Dan, you would win. You would win in an arm
wrestling.
Yeah,
Jenny just asked who would win in an arm wrestling match.
Definitely Dan.
Yeah.
My little noodle arms.
The honest truth though is I'd let you win. Because I don't care, Now, powerlifting, I'm going to crush you, just so you know. It's funny. I'll share this story real quick. So we switched gyms, right? So we no longer own a gym. I used to work out in my own place. It was awesome, right? So we went to this one gym, probably about a mile from our house, and it's infested with college kids. So I got sick and tired of the 20-year-olds walking around half naked, doing their stretching 6 feet in front of the squat rack, making sure that I could see their butt, right? So we switched to this other gym, and it's fantastic, right? It's older crowd and all that. But first thing I do, up on the wall, they have all the powerlifting numbers. And my wife is cracking up because day one that we started there, and this is in January, I go up and I'm analyzing that board because I know I'm going to be number 1 by the end of the year. And she is laughing her ass out. She goes, "You're so you." And she's right.
I'm still, whenever I hear weights and a mention of your wife, I think of that video where she couldn't get the message out of the bloopers video.
Oh, yeah. Frig. The Frig video.
Frig, that one. And
I should share that at some point. But I have an agreement with her that, I don't post her picture or anything like that because of, she's pretty high up in her job, and We don't want any, because there are crazies out there. That's why I don't show her face. Same with your husband, right? We purposely, it's not that we don't want them to be part of this, but they both asked that we don't, and we respect that. And there's no problem with that. But yeah, I should post that frig video. That actually went viral on Facebook in 2016 or 17, before viral was known what viral is. So, all right, we only got about 3-4 minutes left. So we had the good news on Iowa. There was something else I wanted to bring up. Now I'm blanking.
Did the nut fell out of that tree?
Yeah, it really did. And Molly chased the squirrel off. Guys, I'm going to do blanket thank you for all the various gifts that you sent on TikTok. Oh, Angel's got one here. What's the best way your wife has defended you against the crazies? Well, she hasn't. Mine hasn't online because she purposely avoids that. But nobody, and I do mean nobody, messes with her in person. She is a rabid freaking Wolverine. She's 4'10". She'll tell you she's 5'1", but she's 4'10", and you would not mess with her. She will break you in half. Trust me.
The biggest thing that Mr. Squirrely has done to protect me is invest in precious metals, and by precious metals I mean lead.
Yeah, we have quite a bit of lead investment here also. And some steel, which I thought was a bad mistake. I might buy some.
Honestly, the biggest thing that Mr. Squirrely has ever done to protect me is hold me back so that I don't end up needing bail money. For some of the people who have
I have to say the same for mine then. Yeah, that's a good point.
There's been a couple people that I have who have pushed me to that point. And in one case, Mr. Squirrely she got right up in my face. We were outside of Walmart, and I remember this distinctly because Mr. Squirrely came over, picked me up, threw me over his shoulder like a bag of potatoes, and carried me to his truck.
My wife would kill me if I did that to her.
He got me in the truck. He's like,
and I have, by the way.
He's like, we can't afford bail money right now. You cannot unalive the stupid green-haired, nose ring wearing college girl. And I'm like, I can't.
Why not?
Why not?
Steve just asked me if my wife like Rachel Wilson. Very much so. Very much so. Nobody will mess with her. She puts the fear of God into women more than men even. And what's funny is she's a sweetheart. But I would not want to tangle her.
She's very sweet, but she's also like a viper when she needs.
She's an alpha female for sure, right? Which is why we get along so long. Because I'm more of everybody. That's the question that I was asked the other day, and we only got 2 minutes. But I was asked, do I consider myself an alpha? No, I don't. I consider myself more a sigma. We should do a whole show on that because there's the different kinds of men because there's a whole bunch of them.
There's a whole bunch of them. And
the only difference between a sigma and an alpha is a sigma doesn't give a shit, and that's me. I don't need glory or any of that stuff. But I tend to get pushed into the leadership positions.
Ironically enough, so we have the Beta Sigma Omega, whatever, all that crap, which is fascinating for human behavior. But it was all based on, this is the nerd in me, it was all based on a study in wolves. Everyone talks about the alpha wolf. Did you know that only applies to wolves in captivity? Wolves in the wild don't do that. They don't have assigned roles. They will switch around as needed.
Steve just said he's a Sigma too. Brother, you are. We are. Sigmas rock. They really, because they end up in the leadership position, but they don't care. That's what you want. So I'm shooting my own horn. All right, man. Guess what? It's 5:30. So finish your thought.
It died. That squirrel fell off the tree. The nut dropped.
That was my fault, but I saw that comment and I had to crack up about it. So, and then Daryl just jumped in long. Sigma. See, they're all jumping on now. So, awesome show. Thank you again to Sarah for joining us. It was a great show, and we will have her back on. And I'm working on some other guests, and Lindsay, hopefully you are too. We're not going to do a guest every week, but I'd like to want at least 1 or 2 on a month. As long as we don't get banned. And before we go, Micah 12'5'4" sent a hat and mustache a few minutes ago. So,
yee-haw!
All right, wrap it up, Linz, because we got to go.
All right, guys, like, follow, subscribe, share, and see you later.